If you've ever woken up the day after 4th of July and counted all of your fingers and toes to make sure they're all still there, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back. Happy Friday. As AB just said, a Friday that feels like a Monday. All of you that are still here, we consider you the diehards, the true believers. I'm here. We got Nick here. We got Tim Melvin coming on. So we're going to make the most out of this holiday Friday.
Welcome to Benzinga Live Trading.
Let's see if this actually kind of comes back.
Way out of control, got way too high.
All right. Hey, I will take that. I will absolutely take that.
All right, folks. Hello and happy Friday. Welcome back to another episode of Live Trading. I hope your 4th of July was as awesome as mine. Hopefully you all had a safe, happy, and delicious 4th of July with friends and family. Let me go ahead and bring on Nick Brown, News by Nick. Whoop, I had a little StreamYard air there. Nick, how was your 4th of July, dude?
It was well. We had decent weather. It was hot here in Pennsylvania, highs near 85 to 90. So we had some rain last night. It cooled it off. Didn't go to bed till about 11:30 because we had fireworks all around town around me. So we didn't even have to put anything off because you got a free show wherever you were at.
Indeed. And I actually saw some fireworks from where I lived last night. So that was just kind of an added bonus. Wasn't sure that I was going to get that. So in any case, good to see everything was safe. We do have some news here this morning. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. First thing I'm going to do here is take a look at the SPY. And then Nick, I'm going to take a look at the chart here. And then I'm going to have you kind of recap the jobs number here. Is that going to work for you?
Yeah,
okay.
We have a lot to talk about with this jobs data because it does damper some things here.
Yeah, we do. And I think we should start with that. The reality here is that some of the morning movers, there are some, and we're going to discuss them, but there's not a whole lot of them here today. So I think we should focus on this at least early here. Okay, first here is going to be the SPY. One of the things that we have been looking at is to try and take out this 550, 551 area. Now, the current price here is 551.62, I believe. Yep. And the high that we put in the pre-market there, 552.92 right on the dot. So we did breach above that. Let's see if we actually get a close above that here. Now, what's moving it here this morning? First of all, let's just we've had 835,000 shares traded on the SPY. So there's not a whole lot of volume here this morning. Let's just get that out of the way. But Nick, why don't you break down the newsprint that we got here today?
Yeah, so we got the non-farm payrolls for June. Payrolls came in at 206,000, above consensus of 200,000. The unemployment rate actually ticked up a tenth to 4.1%. Consensus was 4%. That's the highest since November of 21. Average hourly earnings came in at 0.29%, or 0.1%, or 1 cent, I should say, to $35 over year, plus 3.86%. U.S. June private sector payrolls plus 136,000 and government payrolls plus 70,000. The average work week was unchanged at 34.3 hours, and May payrolls were revised to 218,000. April was revised to 108,000. Right after the print, there was a headline that crossed from Reuters saying that the U.S. rate futures price in slightly stronger chance of a September-December rate cuts after the jobs report. This print now with a 4.1% unemployment rate ends the streak of sub 4 going back 50 so long here in a decade or so. I think we were 50 year low or something within that 4%. So that does end that streak. But Ryan, this does complicate things even harder, because are we seeing a slow in the labor market? Are we seeing this unemployment rate tick up? Is this something that we haven't seen? Is this just going to be a start of something? And how does the Fed react? I wish we had some Fed speak this morning after this jobs report, because it would be very critical to hear if any of the doves turn hawkish or start leaning in the hawkish way.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Fed is going to have some type of line about being data dependent. So we'll see which way they go. A couple of things from this report to highlight here. Jay's already hitting on one here. Part-time versus full-time jobs. That's why wages went down, more part-timers. Also, I know 13 couldn't join us today, but 13 never really turns off the market watch and the thought process. That's one of the things that makes him so strong here. He sent me a message here this morning regarding the jobs report here. That's a lot of government jobs. Hope it's a lot of law enforcement. 70,000 government jobs in June. The average over the past 12 months was 49,000. So those were some of the jobs that were added as well. You know, I was looking at one of the posts here in the news feed, and it said in June, the U.S. economy added 206,000 jobs, a reduction from the downwardly revised 218,000 in May, according to the data released. So we will see if this trend continues and what that means. Market here obviously likes these numbers, or at least has so far. We'll see what happens with the opening print. Okay. Anything else that you wanted to cover here, Nick?
Ryan, you know, this post actually is very concerning here. Someone on Twitter said, or X said, the Canada's economy unexpectedly lost 1,400 jobs last month. Economists actually expected to add 25,000. And here we beat the estimate. So I don't know if we're in this economy here, we're flip-flopping versus other countries, but it will be interesting to see how this this data does, because Canada's unemployment rate actually goes to 6.4. Estimate was for 6.3 and previously was 6.2. So we are starting to see here unemployment rate tick up just a little bit, not here in the US, but in Canada. And then on the back of this, Ryan, did you see the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, actually conceded?
Yeah, I did. I did see that. So that was the other news that came out from over the weekend. They had their election, and it is a Labor supermajority over there. So that is going to be the left-wing party, or the Liberal Party, if you're going to compare it to the U.S. here. So yeah, I'll be honest, I don't necessarily follow UK politics, doubly so on 4th of July. As you can probably imagine. Let me ask you, do you have any thought on what that means, maybe for us or just going forward?
Well, I did talk to a few people that I know that are in British politics. They just said nobody liked Rishi Sunak, and so it was time for a change. Okay. And so it's going to be interesting to see once the new prime minister comes in, how that how the talks go within the U.S. With world leaders too. So we'll just have to see how it all plays out and to see how the UK does now with this change in politics.
Okay. All right. Real good stuff there, Nick. Appreciate it. Let me go through some of the movers, and then we'll go through the stocks that the chat wants here. I think STSS was one of them. Jay, you're talking about SMCI and AMD. So we'll go, and ARM. We'll go ahead and check all those out here. Let's really quickly run through the movers list and get you all set up for what's gapping up here and what's going on. First one here is going to be Zap. Now, this one should be no stranger to our group. We've been looking at Zap for the last several sessions, frankly. You can see we're on a pretty decent multi-day run here. Pretty decent volume for the day that we have here today in the pre-market. This thing did pop above 4, and so far it's holding it. When we go ahead and take when we go ahead and take a look at the news, easy for me to say, we got nothing fresh here. So this just looks like kind of continued momentum. Be careful with this one, this being up 54%. Some of the day trades on some of these smaller names have not been great. I actually got hit last time that we were together. So we're going to play a little bit more conservative with these names, if not just to target something else completely. Tesla on the docket here. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But anyway, Zap here, this one on the docket, upside about 481, downside here about 4. We're in that consolidation range. We're right below the VWAP, but we're right there and we haven't broken down yet. So let's see what the opening print looks like on ticker ZAPP. Now next here, this is going to be MDWD. This is MetaWound. This wasn't moving when I had first done the rundown here today, so forgive me. We did have a rumor here come out not long ago. Watching MetaWound, traders circulate Solventum interested in buying the company for $34 a share. So we're getting an M&A rumor here, ticker MDWD. That's Mary Delta Whiskey Delta, Mary Delta, Whiskey Delta. I got to remember those. I don't use those enough. So rumor here about a buyout for $34 a share. Current price is $19.55, and that's after the 34.5% rise this morning. So one of the things about these rumors, obviously nothing's confirmed. We see these all the time. It actually makes for some pretty decent trading, or it can make for some pretty decent trading. So didn't have this one on my list. Let me actually add this. We'll check back in on this one today. MediWound. This is actually not a company I'm familiar with either. Nick, I don't know if you've heard of this one or if anyone in the chat has heard with these. Integrated biopharmaceutical company focused on developing, manufacturing, and commercializing novel therapeutic products to address unmet medical needs in the fields of severe burn, chronic, and other hard-to-heal wounds. Okay. Interesting. Not familiar with this company. Let's definitely watch this one. On average, the stock trades 80,000 shares already. Today, we're almost at 800,000 shares. So a 10x already here in the pre-market. That could make this thing wild. Let me take a look at what that float was. Float under 10 million here at 7.72 on this $19.50 stock. So MDWD, this one might be interesting. Curious if anyone in the chat has anything on this one. It's a new issue for me. Okay, next one here on the list is going to be costs. This had a wild move here on Wednesday. Looks like we're gapping up a little bit here again. Why is it moving? We have cost shares trading higher, possibly on continued retail investor interest. Take a look here. At cost, we really don't have any fresh news, right? So this too, much like Zap, looks to be moving on momentum. Again, huge day here on Wednesday. We'll see if cost continues to go. This was a short interest name as well. 7.99, let's call it 8% of the float shorted. 1 day to cover. We'll see if we get any type of up action here on costs. All right, next is going to be MICS. This is Singing Machine Company. The Singing Machine Company shares are trading higher after the company completed the acquisition of Semicab. I've seen Mix before off the scanner just as kind of a day trade. It's not really a company that I follow, and I've never heard of Semicab. One thing that I really haven't looked into yet is how is this going to affect the balance sheet here? This is a really kind of a small cap company. I'm interested in how this kind of changes around the cash position. I'll take a look at that. But at least for right now, I want to see how this opens, right? We're kind of dipping right here. We'll see if we end up taking out 145 to the downside. VWAP here at 166. So even if we hold that level, it got a nice little 20 plus cent move back to the VWAP. And then we'll see if we can get through it. One of the things that we've seen in the pre-market is as we punch through this VWAP, we're really not able to hold and build above, and we actually pull. So a day trade on this one is going to have to be timed right or might end up in some pain. That's what's going on with Mix here. Let's take a look at the shares real quick. 1.78 million in the float. Super small float. On average, trades 158,000 today. We've traded almost 11 million. So this is clearly where the action is. It's going to be worth us at least taking a look at that. Look at that. We did hold 145 right here, getting a nice little bounce on volume. Let's see if that materializes. Next on the list here is going to be Archer Aviation. This is also one that we've been taking a look at recently. We do have some news here on Archer that we're going to cover. Archer had a decent day on Wednesday. It's gapping up here again this morning. Why, do you ask? Here we go. So real quick, there were insider buying, but also I saw this Cathie Wood statement. Now, this came Wednesday after the half day closed. We had a 17 million share buy here. If we go to, so Cathie Wood's ARK Invest loading up on this. It also, I think in this same one, it mentioned that she sold DNA. I don't have that one here. It's one of these news posts. I can't seem to find it. Boost. Anyway, Cathie Wood adding to Archer. That's why Archer's up here, selling a big portion of her position in DNA. That's what's going on here. This one I'm not necessarily going to trade today. I have just a little bit of this that I'm kind of holding just to force myself to watch it. We'll see if this ends up giving us some action here today. The pre-market activity looking pretty good. Share breakdown here, float of 205 million. So this is the opposite of some of those low floaters that we trade. And we're about a quarter of the way through its average volume so far. So we'll see how Archer ends up panning out today. Bitcoin. let's just talk about Bitcoin kind of generally. I don't know that we need to necessarily dive into those names. Bitcoin at the lowest level it's been in months. I can't remember the exact date. Nick, I'm not sure if you have that here. Bitcoin really took a beating here. Is actually down beneath 55,000 on the futures. And although we've recovered that now, not really showing a whole lot of strength here. Some of the Bitcoin ETFs going to appear in this list, but that's what's going on with Bitcoin. Let me know if you folks have any of that. Kathy also sold NVIDIA. Thank you, Tom. And buy ACHR. Exactly. Oh, good morning, Nick. Great to see you again. Hopefully your 4th of July was good, my man. Okay, next on the list here that I really quickly want to talk about is going to be Macy's. We've talked a little bit about some of the retail and consumer discretionary stocks. Macy's shares are trading higher after the Wall Street Journal reported that Ark House and Brigade raised their offer for the company to $24.80 per share, up from $24. So it looks like an 80-cent hike in the price there. Macy's popping here was 18 about when we closed on Wednesday. Today here battling that 19.50. We'll see if Macy's can get above that. Okay, that's about all I have here for the movers. We've got 9 minutes left here. We did a really good job moving through here. Moving through some of these names really helps to have kind of a truncated list here. What other stocks do you folks want to take a look at? Let me start with that STSS before thinking about it loses it here. This is a penny stock. I can't believe that this is what you're bringing here, thinking about it. But anyway, let me see. Look at STSS volume pre-market. It's huge. Okay, we've seen that before. Still want to see where this thing is going. I think you said something else on this one. Let me see if I can find it. Love to see a whole bunch of the activity here in chat. I thought we were going to have a super light day. STSS trades like 5x its daily volume in the pre-market. Something's going on. Okay, so that'll give us something to watch. Remember, we did spike here on Wednesday. We kind of came back in. So that should cover up STSS. Let's see. What else do you folks want to take a look at? Win. Wow, that's the first time I've had someone mention Win in a long time. When I actually really kind of like this stock. I used to trade this stock and options before COVID. Once COVID kind of came around, kind of threw a wrench into that here. As far as I'm concerned, Win pretty best in breed when it comes to some of these casinos and resorts. They also have pretty good Macau exposure, which is one of the things that drives this stock here. We actually look like we're trading into a decent support level. We are beneath the 200-day. So generally with stuff like this, I want to have it show strength by reclaiming that 200-day. The one thing that might be useful here is if this can hold 82, we might actually start bouncing to try and test some of these moving averages. We just had a death cross where the 50-day crosses through the 200-day to the downside. So maybe some more downside here. Kind of have to wait and see. That death cross just happened pretty recently, and we're currently in a downtrend. Any long side trade here, we're going to have some type of catalyst for it. I just don't see it yet. Not sure that the support level really kind of is going to do it. I don't know if that's going to be enough here on Win. Really good stuff, though. Let me know how you guys end up trading Win here. That'd be really cool.
Ryan, I was going to say, let's take a look at NVIDIA. We have some news regarding NVIDIA out of New Street, given a downgrade this morning to NVIDIA. But first, NVIDIA is actually projected to sell 12 billion of AI chips in China this year, despite U.S. export controls. This news actually came yesterday. NVIDIA's H20 chips, designed to bypass U.S. restrictions, are expected to generate significant revenue in China. That's according to the Financial Times. Now, this morning, New Street actually downgrades NVIDIA to neutral from buy with a $135 price target. This is the first downgrade I've seen from NVIDIA in quite some time. So watch NVIDIA, because that is pretty, I don't want to say alarming, but that's a reversal trend of what we've seen.
Yeah, now NVIDIA is dipping a little bit here off of its pre-market highs. It's down not even 1% from where it closed on Wednesday. Let's see. This is a good one. I actually didn't catch this either, Nick, so kudos to you. We'll see if this downgrade either A, starts a series of more downgrades, or does it have enough juice on its own here. Okay, good stuff there on NVIDIA. We'll take a look at AMD. Oh, Tesla. Let's do Tesla here before I get too carried away. Don't worry, Jay Harris. I got you. Boss. Tesla is actually one of my stocks kind of watching here today to trade. We've got a nice little sideways area here. So I've pretty much marked off the bottom end of this range and the top end of this range. And I want to see which end of the range that we break here. Tesla shares trading higher on continued strength following the company's delivery report. It was also reported that the state-owned firms in Shanghai have purchased the Model Y. Okay, so some more good news here on Tesla. If we just take a look at the recent chart here, Tesla has been a great swing trade. 3 sessions, 50 points. Good Lord, this thing has really kind of been rocketing. If we take a look at the daily chart, this becomes more clear. This move through the 200 and the 500 on volume also probably helping here. The one thing that I'd be very, very careful about with Tesla, obviously, you've seen how far we've moved and how quickly we've moved. Look at the RSI here on the daily chart, 84.84, totally overcooked here. Some key levels to watch from the upside here, 265, definitely going to be one of them. Let's call it 280 as another. I don't think we're going to necessarily get to either of those here today, but those are going to be some of the next upside targets that I would watch. On the downside here, in case we pull back, look for a pullback to this 232. Look for us to maybe kind of retest this candle. If we do that, probably won't happen in 1 or 2 sessions, might take a little bit longer than that. And then ultimately, if this reverses and really kind of starts to sell to the downside, we're really going to be keying in at that 200 day. In an ideal situation, and I know Tesla doesn't necessarily behave in ideals and all of that, but in an ideal situation, Tesla would pull back rather orderly towards the 200 day, give us a couple of closes above it, and then maybe we can talk about a swing long here. The other thing, I don't know if Lynn and Randy are here. Let me know if you folks are going to trade Tesla here today. Nick, did you have anything on Tesla before I move on? I think AMD is the next one.
I was going to say Tesla's moving up, I believe, for the 8th straight day in a row, something we haven't seen in quite some time. That's according to our own Shanthi Rexeline this morning in an article. She puts out amazing articles regarding the movers and different records. So watch Tesla, because we know that they are going to be reporting earnings, and we had some Q2 delivery numbers. And so this talk around EVs is going to be one to watch, Ryan. So when they report earnings later in July this month, it's going to be watched. I know that Tesla is overbought. We've seen it in this range here. Just watch the 50-day, 200-day in metrics and volume. We know volume, Ryan, has been very light in general, and the breadth too. It's just anything is going to move anything. Any catalyst, I should say, is going to move a stock.
Okay, good stuff. Regarding the ads here, Jay Michael, I appreciate this. Go ahead, and I'm delivering all of your folks' feedback to the show's team. We actually brought Zunaid on, I don't think it was last week, maybe the week before, to kind of discuss that. We definitely hear the feedback. Can't make some of those changes as quick as you folks would want, but I appreciate you bringing this up, Jay Michael.
Remember, you can watch on X. There is no ads on X. You can just head over to Benzinga and just watch it there.
But we do love all of our viewers, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, or X. You are welcome. Anyway, with the feedback, please keep it up. We definitely appreciate that. Okay, let me go ahead and check on AMD. Folks, I know that you guys have been chatting quite a bit here. With only me here, I'm reading the chat a little bit less. Apologize in advance if I miss something. It's not intentional. AMD here, I know it seems to me like a lot of people are trading this. Jay, you're on Jay's Life. You're on AMD, aren't you? Anyway, this kind of consolidating here, the action that I really like to see here out of AMD is how it's kind of straddling this 50. Now, I'd probably be a little frustrated with this trade, because after maybe these 3 closes, if that is how you open your trade, it's really just kind of continued to trade sideways here several days past that. So I can understand why this would be a little bit frustrating. This does actually look pretty good. I would be a little concerned if this broke through the 50, but so far so good. We'll see what happens if this does test 169 to the upside. Let me know if you have any other targets here. 176 looks to be one, and then maybe like this kind of neckline here on that head and shoulders here, about 186.5. So, Okay, AMD here. Jay's Life. I'm not in AMD. I'm looking at ARM. That's what I screwed up, Jay's Life. I'm sorry about that. But you know what? That'll be a good segue into the next stock here. We're open. Here's ARM. This actually does look like this wants to break 180, Jay. So let me know if that's part of your trade plan. Okay, let me flip over to Trade the Pool. We'll go ahead and take a look at a lot of these different stocks. Reminder, the stream is sponsored by Trade the Pool. So if you need help getting above the 25K day trading threshold, Trade the Pool can help or just give you some more dry powder. Let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, first stock that I'm going to be watching here is Tesla. Folks, let me know what you see out there. Keep them coming. And again, happy Friday. Let's have some fun today, huh? Oh, Jesse, show Ryan and Benzinga some love. Hit that like button, man. I appreciate you. Something fierce, buddy. Appreciate that. Okay. Let's see here. So Tesla right through the VWAP. Let's see if we go towards that 253 spot, the top end of the range. Here we go. Volume looking pretty good. Feels like I'd be chasing this pop a little bit here. We'll see what happens when this reverses. Greetings and salutations, Fairchild. Good to see you here this morning. ANVS getting mentioned here by Will. Let's take a look at that. This is popping here, at least right off the open. Let's see if that goes above Wednesday's kind of consolidation area. Got that level here, what, 821? Only about 20 cents away. Let's check in on Zap from our list earlier. Zap punched over the pre-market highs early. Okay, who's on Zap here? Zap through $5 right here. It's coming, Rick. Look at Zap. This is some pretty good action here out of the open. Let's see what else we got going on. I think my favorite thing about today, by the way, folks, is seeing people's pictures and video clips from the fireworks the night before. Really good stuff. Okay. What else are we taking a look at? Zap pulling after that pop here. This is why we don't chase. Let's see if this actually goes negative. How about that MDWD? That's the one that had the merger rumor here. This actually looks like this is trying to go higher. Spread a little bit. VRT getting spammed in the chat. VRT breaking higher here. Boy, this has been a great one too. Looks like we're now breaking above that 50-day here. Let's see if we can get it close above that VRT. NVIDIA. Here we go on NVIDIA. So I did miss the pre-market prep had Gordon Johnson on this morning, didn't they? I missed that, unfortunately, as I was getting ready. Let's see if NVIDIA can take out 129 here, going for that 129 handle. Cost, this was another big runner here these last few days. This going for those pre-market highs. Boy, here we go. And I'm looking at the SPY here. We are just kind of up 25 cents, so basically flat. Cost, let's see if we go towards the highs here. I've got that just above 16 at 16.13. Looks like it's stopping right there. NNE, this has been another one that we've been talking about recently. This is the nano nuclear fuels. This actually popping here. I wonder if this can get back up to a high that it made on the first. That high is going to be up here at 32, it looks like. ARM, did we break that 177? Not yet. ARM, nice little pop out of the gate here, though. Seeing gold on my scanner. Eva, I think you wanted to take a look at some of those gold stocks earlier. Here's Barrick Gold. This having a pretty good move. Wonder if that correlates to the Bitcoin sell-off that we've seen. VIX here at 12, just under 12 and a half. Nothing really concerning there on the VIX yet. Nick, 10% on your entire account early here. Not bad. I think the discipline here sitting on your hands, probably a good thing. Don't ruin your Friday. Sounds like you're having a pretty good one early here, dude. We're going to give you a register ring for that one. Mix, MICS. Let's take a look at that. Do I not have that in Trade the Pool here? Let's see. No, I do not. All right, let me take a look at Mix in my other screen and see if that's moving. That was one from the list here. Mix, this just moving down, almost completely round trip that move. Almost doesn't even matter that I don't have it here in Trade the Pool, to be honest with you. Here's Macy's. Let's see if we take out that pre-market high. Looking around here. Take a look at Win. That was another one that you folks mentioned here this morning. Let's see if that's moving at all.
Ryan,
Yeah,
it seems that the overall story regarding the casinos and stuff isn't reflecting the correct stock price. It seems like the casinos and stuff seem busy and at Win Resorts, we have MGM. It seems like the stock can't get any momentum, and I don't know if that's reflective of this environment that nobody's maybe participating in the stock rally, but they are still going to casinos.
Yeah, I'll say that one of our coworkers here, Zoltan, is in Vegas and says that the stuff is packed. Doesn't really see any less foot traffic. But we have been talking about a tightening consumer, so maybe trips to Vegas and casinos are less in demand. I don't know, not sure what to make of that. I do like Win long term, though. I think that's pretty good. By the way, while we were talking about that, cost halted here, and this halted right at a resistance area. So an upside halt here on good volume. I got to think, given the recent action that we've seen, this probably pops higher here. Watch this for a pull, though. Cost halted. Great call there. Who was that got that one? Carmen, thank you. Thank you. Oh, 13. Okay. MDWD. That's holding in here 20 and a half. This spread a little bit more than I'd like. This is holding in here. Meta wound. Okay, let's see what else you guys got going here. Chewy. Is Chewy going up here today? Boy, we really crushed that trade. Could have been so much more. It'll be interesting to see what happens when some of this kind of settles after that, all the roaring kitty stuff going on with this. I do like Chewy higher here. It's been tough to trade, though, in some cases. Macy's above that pre-market high now. Macy's continued strength here this morning, right out of the open. As they're mentioning Siri. Oh, nice pop here on Siri. Not one that I mean. Was this, who was in this? Was there a FinTwit guy in this one? I can't remember. Can't remember for sure. Max N. That's not really doing a whole lot here. PLTR. That is popping here. Wow. Was there news? Let me check Palantir. Was there news on that, or is that just moving? Market here. Let me see. No fresh news here on Palantir. Nice morning for it, though. QLGN for you penny players. Looks like that's coming.
Well, Ryan, regarding Palantir, I was going to say regarding Palantir, Dan Ives in a new note pointed out that he's listed 9 stocks from across the tech industry as his top tech picks for the remainder of the year. One of them is Palantir this morning. Okay, so there you go. So that might be why this is. Jay, Siri is a big Zach name. I thought that I had that somewhere. Thank you for that. So that's I'm sure. Actually, I haven't even checked the Twitter streets yet this morning. Let's see. People are talking about Tesla. Let's take a look here at Tesla. Let's see if we broke out of that range at all. Oh, yeah, we sure did. Boy, we didn't even back test that range. We just kind of sold off. Tesla bouncing here off 245. Good morning, Elon. Great to see you. Watch out, Dell. Watch out like bad or watch out good? Dell sinking a little bit here. Still above that 50-day. That close is what I'd want to take a look at. How's Archer doing? Did we continue at all? Nope. We sold some of that opening pop here on Archer. See what else you folks are taking a look at. Zap right at that VWAP. AMD working. Hey, look at that pop. Actually doing a really good job holding this level higher. Let's see if we actually build above that VWAP and take another leg here. Scanner kind of dry here. Amazon 200 prints. Amazon, nice little strong morning here as well.
NVIDIA is trying to go up after the downgrade. It is. Indeed, it is. And actually, right where we're at right now, NVIDIA kind of erased that down move from when we got that downgrade. Cost is open. Thank you, 13. Look at 13, doing work while on vacation. So this did pop higher here. Let's see if we close that gap on the way in or if we take the next leg up here on costs. Jane Smith out costs at the open of that halt. Way to sell in the strength, Jane. That's what we want to see here. Strong stuff on a Friday. Costs, is it going to halt here again? No. Okay. Let me get the a little two up here. Cost just monster volume here. Cost continuing to go higher. Looks like a 19 test might be on deck here on costs. Oh, you love to see it. Best trade of the week. Jane, you never know when that best trade will come, whether it's Friday, Monday, or somewhere in between. You're never quite sure. Really good stuff there. Really good stuff. Cost feeling a little bit heavy, but I don't think that story's over yet for today. We'll see. Meta getting mentioned here by Dustin in the chat. Meta also strong. Looks like a lot of these tech names here showing very similar charts here. Apple, the same deal. How's Tesla doing? Okay, Tesla, that bounce, very short-lived. We actually broke through 245 to the downside here. Some of the Tesla short ETFs now showing up on the relative volume scanner. MDWD, that continuing here. Look at this one. Jay's Life saying Tesla is going to 20. Did you mean 120 or did you actually mean 20? That would be let me tell you something. You hit that one. That would be a short. MDWD continuing to grind higher. Twitter streets here. A lot of people talking about Tesla here this morning.
Ryan, watch Bond. This is interesting this morning. B of A points out in their note that the largest inflow of bonds in general. This week they've had the largest inflow since February of 2021.
Okay.
So just watch bonds. I was just going through some of the charts. I think gold, they had their biggest inflow since March of this year. So we are starting to see some commodities and some safety risks start to come in here just a little bit.
Okay. MDWD, not very active. Cost still holding higher here. VRT, let's take a look at that one. That's still holding here above VWAP. Siri, is that still raging? Sure is. Boy, I tell you what. Those Zach names, man. They move. EOSE, it's kind of a junkier stock. This has actually made a decent move off the bottom, though. Market Sniper says, thoughts on pizza at these prices for a swing? Pretty low, can turn around. That's going to be Papa John's, right? Ticker PZZA. Tell you what, this, let me actually get a bigger chart up here. My big question here is probably the same one that you're asking yourself. Where's the bottom? Let me bring this up. Look at Papa John's International. This kind of a nasty chart here. I see why you're trying to play this with a reversal, with this being at the lows, RSI being pretty oversold at this level. I don't know if I feel confident in a bottom here. Curious to know what you folks think about this one. God, it's been a decade plus since I've eaten Papa John's, at least.
Same here. Don't really eat too much pizza.
Yeah, I love pizza. Don't get it twisted. Yeah, I'm not a huge Papa John's guy. I'm with you on that one. Jay Summers saying Gordon Johnson was very critical on Tesla this morning in pre-market prep. Yes, water is wet. He generally is. He's a very, very well-researched guy, though. He's been wrong on Tesla, frankly. All right, let's see. Let's see anything else pop in here. Let's see what some of the other traders are after. Oh, let me get rid of this. We'll go back to the trade the pool here. Bruce, good to see you this morning. Taking a look at ARM and Meta. We actually just took a look at Meta. It looks like ARM is reversing here. Did pop right out of the open. It'd be interesting to see if some of the other tech names follow this. We took a look at Meta earlier. Is it still doing the same thing? Oh, what happened on my other screen here? Oops. There we go. Meta still ripping here. Meta 521. Let me take a look at that on a bigger chart here. Man, this is strong stuff here on Meta. Here's one of the things to look at. Are we going to break out here? I've got the top end of this, 530-ish, 521 here on Meta. RSI is not yet oversold, although it is at the high end of the range. Let's see if there's any more strength here for Meta. Amazon also continuing towards the highs here. We got Prime Day coming up. What's that, next week? The week after? The week after next. Tuesday and Wednesday, 16 and 17. Wonder if that's a trade up into that. Yeah, you know what, Tom? That's actually not a bad idea. A streaming ad across the bottom so it does not interrupt. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me get that suggestion over to the show's team too. Like I said, folks, we're on the same side as you. Want to get all that feedback in the right hands. Appreciate that.
I was going to say, Ryan, watch airline stocks, given we're expected these numbers to be big for traveling. Looking at some TSA numbers this morning. Yesterday, they screened 2,221,572. That's well below 2023 numbers of 2,540,000. Looking at 7/3, so the day before the 4th of July, they screened 2,786,000. Well better than expected of the 2,492,000 since last year. So just watch some TSA numbers. This is supposed to be the busiest holiday travel on record, and the count goes, I believe, through Sunday. So once we hit next week, we will have some numbers to crunch and some numbers to talk about who traveled and how many people traveled, if it actually met expectations.
Okay. Good insight there. One of the ways I think maybe we can play this might be through ticker LUV. That's going to be Southwest Airlines here. This is actually one that I've been watching, and you folks know exactly why, or it should be obvious when looking at the daily chart here. Look at the consolidation around the 200-day that we have here on Love. So we've actually kind of been dropping beneath it. We've got closes above and below it, really kind of consolidating here. The 50-day moving average is 50 cents beneath it. RSI is really smack dab in the middle, kind of in no man's land. This actually not bad risk reward if you're going to try and play the travel numbers here to the upside. These look a little bit more attractive, I think, at least the chart, than some of these other names. Delta, this actually kind of looks like it wants to go down a little bit more. Any of you folks trading any of the airline names here? United Airline. Yeah, I think the chart that I like the most here is Love. Honestly, if you're going to play those airlines to the upside, I think Love gives you the best setup. All right, let's go back here. MDWD, that was one that we flagged here. Look at that. That did pop right to that pre-market high and got rejected. Let's see if this holds the VWAP. That actually might give us entry here. MDWD. Jay's Life. Did you hit this one? Did you hit this one here today? Nice move here. Wiss. Good morning, Wiss. Did you play any golf on 4th of July? If so, how'd you do, bro? Here is what I can't pull up mix in the trade the pool, but here it is in pro on the 1 minute chart. Really good spot here. With this did kind of bounce off that 120 level. I know it's only 6 cents up from that level. VWAP here at 148. So still some good range here if this can continue. It looks like that reversal here has started though. Flip back to that. Let me go back to the scanner here. Get trade the pool back up. Okay. Lion Atlas says Love looks ready to go. Yeah, so there you go. That's just, and I'm just basing that off the chart, kind of folding that into the news that Nick was just giving you there. Tony saying bought DAL today, earnings next Friday. Okay, interesting. Delta obviously has an advantage with its refining capacity. I'm not sure if that's going to react to the travel numbers there. Delta, best in breed. Shout out. That's the airline I prefer to fly at. Okay. Cindy bringing up that Love just swallowed the poison pill. We actually heard that news last week or was that earlier this week? That might have been Monday or Tuesday this week here. Unsure how that's going to affect it. Again, the Love idea coming strictly from the chart on the back of the travel numbers. Hot Wiss, I'm about to head to the course here in 30 minutes. Go low, man. Go low. All right. Let's see. Tom, sorry I missed this earlier. I'm guessing and Mix have volume related to kitty meme of a flag with a microphone. Tom, I gotta be honest, you are way more up on the meme game than myself. So I haven't been able to check this here, but I can't seem to make sense of that meme stuff. But hey, maybe that is what's going on. They say all you need is peace, love, and understanding. I wonder if the people that said that flew Southwest. That would be my follow-up question there. MDWD, it did come back to the VWAP here. Okay, interesting. Do we maybe trade this a little bit? What do you think? Let's go a little bit more here. Let's see. Should we try some here at 22? What do you think? Who's trading MDW? That volume kind of ramped. It looks like it's slowing down. I don't want to buy it on the backside of a volume move. OPTT nasty trap in the pre-market. Speaking of that, stay out of those sand traps. I was in one trap yesterday in my round, and I got out of it with actually a fairly decent shot. So I'm not great with sand shots, but that was pretty good. OPTT, this was a nasty trap here. This was looking pretty good in the pre-market. Nothing but sells since we opened here. Gary, I got MDWD at 2182. I screwed that up. Wait, or did you screw it up? Why am I? No, MDWD. What on earth is going on here? MD, you got it right. Okay, so here we are. So we went right through the VWAP. Now let's see if we can reclaim this. I'm going to keep an eye here on the volume as well. Lion, you are taking this. Ryan just bought Love Calls expiring July 19th at $28 strike there. Okay, let's see. Let's see if that gets rolling here. Look around. I don't see anything else really going. See Sing getting mentioned. NNE getting mentioned. That's that nano fuels you guys were talking about. So that's Sing. That's that penny stock that I'm just going to pass on here. NNE trying to go for some new highs here. Zap still holding right under there, right under its VWAP. MDWD. Oh, I got the ticker right that time. Okay, so this is holding VWAP here. We'll see. Don't mind the sand shots. Rough can be way worse at times. I'll take sand over deep rough any day. Okay, you guys could probably give me a lesson out there around the bunkers. Okay, it is almost 10 o'clock here. Gotta do a bit of a mea culpa here. On Wednesday, things got a little bit out of control, and we missed Tim Melvin. But Tim Melvin, being the gent that he is, was able to reschedule here from Friday. So we're going to go ahead and bring him on here. Tim?
Hey, guys.
How you doing, dude?
I'm doing great. How is everybody this morning? I'm
doing pretty good. Tim, I just got it. I'm just doing this with some of the guests here today. Can I get a finger check to make sure you have all 10 fingers after 4th of July? My man.
Oh, come on. My dogs are terrified of fireworks. So, and we live in an area, we're in Southwest Florida, where technically fireworks are only allowed for agricultural purposes. Well, we apparently shot down a hell of a lot of crows around here last night because stuff was just booming and banging everywhere. And it's that way every year, right? I mean, our neighbors go ballistic with the fireworks. So I spent the night trying to watch a baseball game with a 70-pound pit bull Ridgeback mix in my lap. So I had absolutely no opportunity to get out and blow up anything. So.
Okay. I was just assuming that you were an ordnance expert, so figured maybe you put on a show for the fam.
We used to do that, and we'd go over to like New Smyrna Beach and blow them out. It was always a lot of fun, but yeah, not anymore. The neighbors do, but we don't.
Okay. Well, you also did get a new nickname here this morning, Tim-tastic. So we're going to roll with it. We're going to roll with that. All right, Tim, what do you got for us here today? What are you seeing? I know you don't do the whole day-to-day things. You maybe don't have necessarily an opinion on the jobs report here today, but what are you seeing out there?
I do have a jobs report opinion. Let me wind back on something here, okay?
Yep.
You were just mentioning NNE, the nuclear energy company.
Yes, sir.
Guys, there's the old story of the people trading sardines in Spain, and I think it was in Spain at one point in time, and they were trading at these really super prices, and then finally a trader opened them and ate them. He said, "Jesus, these taste like shit. Why is anybody paying up for them?" And this old veteran trader looked at him and said, "Hey guys, those are trading sardines, not eating sardines. There's a difference." And NNE is a trading stock. There's nothing to this company except wings, hopes, and prayers. Okay. Nuclear small modular reactors are, and write this down and check me on it. Okay. They're a decade away. There's, some in various stages of the permitting process, but the construction estimates are just mega multiples of anything that's, was originally anticipated. So kind of stay away from those guys. That technology is not coming tomorrow. So earnings are decades away. So if you're trading it, be really careful and use the super tight stop on that thing.
Okay. Real good stuff there.
Now, the jobs report this morning, it's a yawner. I mean, there's no other word for it, right? It's right in line with expectations. And I talked to someone this morning that was super excited that they're going to cut rates because the unemployment rate went up. No, they're not. The unemployment rate went up because enough people looked around and said the economy's getting better. We're going to get back in the workforce, right? You're seeing this slow climb of the workforce of all the people that walked away in 2020 and said, "To hell with it, I'm out. I'm just going to take early retirement." A lot of them are coming back now. And that's all you really saw in the unemployment claim coming up this morning, which does lead me right into kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about this morning. And I do come bearing gifts as always.
That's what I wanted to hear. I expected nothing less.
But, when we looked at the data, we saw continuing claims continue to go up on unemployment. We've seen real retail sales have been flat all year. Now they've gone negative. Durable goods have struggled all year. Same thing. So there's signs that the economy is slowing. Don't take this as a sign that the Fed is going to cut rates anytime soon. Look, Powell and John Williams and the other speakers are out there begging you not to buy into that. And we keep seeing bonds trying to rally and start a new uptrend and just get smacked down by a data point. It happens almost every time. Right now, we're seeing bonds try to reverse this ugly 3-year downtrend. But the Fed's telling you we're not there. A September cut on the heels of the two political conventions is going to require fairly dire economic news, because now we're into the political phase between the conventions and the election, where in theory we actually have declared and decided candidates. So we'll see after the speech tonight whether we actually have that or not. So there's still a lot of background stuff here. Rates are going to stay higher for longer. Okay, we're not going. And first off, if you're buying into that, we're going back to 2019 rates, you are going to be horrifically disappointed. If we ever get back to that 1% Fed funds rate, the world's in a depression or we are losing a war. Okay?
Neither of those sound any good.
No, neither. Right? Did they sound good to the stock market? Because they really don't to me either. It's, in a dream scenario, right? If you were to ask, one of the major economists, what's the dream scenario? We get through all of this madness. The economy begins to normalize, whatever that looks like. You're into a 2% GDP growth, which is like a 3.25% sustained Fed funds rate. We're as much as 5 years away from that actually happening, Ryan. I mean, higher for longer is definitely what we're stuck with. Yeah. Even if you see a cut or two, if we step back and we look around and we ignore the day-to-day noise, which I've gotten really good at doing, look at what's going on in the world and what the Fed is telling you. And the Fed minutes that just came out on Wednesday, they said, look, in the conversation, we like the way the inflation is going, but we're not there yet. And in fact, if there's a risk, it's to the upside as far as inflation. And that could come from geopolitics. It could come from politics. There's a lot of places that upside inflation risk can come from. So it's some of the bigger ones that I'm looking at and say, okay, this is why I'm really convinced we're not going to see sustained lower for longer. Higher is going to be the rule of the day. Deglobalization. Look at all the industries coming home. Okay. They're not creating jobs today. Semiconductors aren't even creating jobs yet because we're still, we're getting permits, we're building factories, we're getting funding. That's all going to start showing up in the second half of the year and into the next year, where these semiconductor plants are actually creating first construction jobs and then technology jobs. But you're seeing autos coming back. You're seeing a lot of logistics coming back. You're plans in motion already where aerospace and defense aren't going to have a choice. They're going to be forced to come back. And I think we're going to see that eventually with pharmaceuticals too. So you've got all these industries and jobs coming back, creating inflation and jobs pressure. Okay. So that's a potential upside risk to inflation. Then there's defense spending. Now, this may come as a surprise to everybody, but we do not live in a real quiet, peaceful, low geopolitical risk world right now. And we're, to be brutal, we're not ready for what World War III looks like. We're actually lagging behind in hypersonic missiles and some other high-tech technologies. It takes us, and this is a stunning statistic, it takes up to 7 years in this country to build a warship. The ships we used to turn out to a month during World War II, it can take up 7 years from the time we get permitted, lay a hull, and actually get that thing off of the assembly line. That's not sustainable. China's building several a month. So we're going to have to ramp up defense spending whether we like it or not. Again, creates jobs, creates wage pressures. It's a possible upside risk. Then you've got the big one to me, and that is supply and demand. Right. This year, we're going to be in the process, and we've done some of it. We've got some more to go. There was a total of $9 trillion that had to be refinanced because it came due. That's on top of the $2 trillion deficit that we created. So you've got all of this supply coming on at a time where nobody wants to buy the longer end of the yield curve. Now, we are financing our debt. It's about 16% of GDP. At an average cost of 3.64%. And that's of the May numbers. All right. The lowest point on our yield curve is at about 4.3, I think, 4.25, 4.3 right now. And that's in a 10-year bond. The demand is in the short end, right? The 3, 6, 9 month, 1 year, 2 year bills, those are 5%. So the cost where we're going to have to finance debt is still really high. And that's, we're going to have to raise rates, keep them up there to attract capital to people that want to buy bonds. Japan is backing out of our slowly but surely backing out of our treasury market. And we're actually getting internal competition from Japanese rates going up, which is a real problem for the treasury and its financing efforts. So supply and demand, and then the fact that we can't seem to run the government without running a deficit. Yeah. Also inflationary pressure. So higher for, even if we get a cut or two, and I'm sorry to get boring, but I'm winding into where I'm going with this. Okay.
All good.
Even if we get a cut, it's just going to be a cut. It's going to be political, and it's going to be a bone being thrown to the market. We're not going to get a serious, steady stream of cuts that gets us under 4% for a long time. And I think they're going to try a cut, and I think it's not going to go well. I think it's actually going to spur some inflationary activity. So then the other big issue is just that the more we talk about the next cut being lower, the easier financial conditions get. So if you look at the National Financial Conditions Index from the Chicago Fed, and they're measuring things like the debt markets and the credit markets and the money markets and shadow banking and BDCs and direct credit, and just a money availability, how easy is it to get cash and expand your business, which will grow the economy. It's getting looser since the beginning of 2023, accelerated at the end of 2023 when Powell made his pivot comments. the looser financial conditions get, the harder it is for the Fed to actually cut rates, because the markets are actually achieving the purpose of the rate cuts before the Fed can ever act. So it's like Torsten Slok of Apollo called it Fed cut reflexivity. It's getting the cuts getting priced into and acted on in the market before the Fed can actually act, which is creating a problem for the Fed to actually cut rates. So I set all this up to say higher for longer is something we got to live with. Now, eventually, they're going to cut rates. Okay, it's probably going to be next year. I don't really think it's going to be this year anymore. So how do we make money from that? That's the big question, right?
Yep,
and
indeed.
Treasuries, it's like betting against the Japanese bond, because we always thought eventually they've got to do something, right? And like half the planet went broke trying to bet on a change in the Japanese market. And it's been the same way for the last 3 years in U.S. bond markets. Trying to catch that falling knife has wiped out a lot of folks. So how do you make money on a potential change? Well, let's set up a situation where we get paid while we wait, and there's also external forces working to create gains between now and the Fed cut, but we get the big pop when the Fed cuts. The way we play that, Ryan, is heavily discounted closed-end funds.
Okay.
I'm going to save you from because the explanation of closed-end funds and how this happens is boring. But closed-end funds are issued. They trade on an exchange. There's a fixed number of shares. Now, when you and I buy a Fidelity fund or trade in our 401k, the fund creates and redeems shares internally at the fund. The stock exchanges, nobody's involved. Closed-end funds have a fixed number of shares. They trade on the exchanges, which means they're subject to the same psychological soup that everything else is. Right? So sometimes these closed-end funds, when everybody's excited about them and loves them, they trade for more than they're worth. So you'll see a fund that owns $10 worth of stocks and bonds trading at 11 because everybody wants to own it for whatever that reason is. Often, because there is no natural marketing department, once the IPO is over and they're listed, the firm walks away. They don't care. They could care less. It's a fixed pool of capital now. So as people sell, there's no natural buyers. These will often trade at a discount to net asset value. So you can buy $1 worth of assets for 85 cents. This is where I come in. Okay. And we've been doing this for years. Carl Icahn got his original activist trades were in closed-end funds. Buffett has engaged in. It's like a lot of people got started doing this. Okay. So we're looking at closed-end funds that invest in fixed income instruments that are trading for less than 90 cents on the dollar, paying monthly cash tax-free distributions in this case, because I'm going to start by talking about tax-free funds. And then there's activists. There's this school of activist investors, and there's only a handful of them, have sprung up, as it were, and they buy larger stakes, 5, 7, 10% of the shares of these funds. Then they start leaning on management. And they're telling them, look, you got to do whatever it takes. You got to buy back stock, raise the dividend. We've had a couple funds triple the dividends this year to narrow the discount, to get buying pressure into the fund. So raise the discount, do a tender offer, merge it into another fund or ETF, whatever you've got to do to get rid of that discount. Now, so we're sitting here, we're going to buy, and I'm going to give you some tax-free funds and some real estate debt-oriented funds today that you're buying into these. You're going to collect high levels of monthly income, taxable or tax-free. The activist is doing everything they can to get the fund to do something to close the discount. So if we buy this at 85 cents on the dollar and the discount goes away and it trades at $1, we've made that money. But now all of these are in fixed income assets that are going to pop and pop sharply on the first Fed rate cut. So you're setting up a situation where we're perfectly positioned for a Fed rate cut whenever it happens. Best of all, we're going to get paid each and every month until it happens.
I like the sound of that.
Right. In the meantime, there's a real possibility that we could get a big price pop because they have been beaten by the activists. Now, it's real important to understand that there's a big activist out there, a guy named Boaz Weinstein, one of the most fascinating guys in finance today. Started out junior. He was a chess master at the age of 15. Was a Merrill Lynch intern at the age of 16. And everybody thought, okay, this guy, look at brilliant math, stock market, won these national stock picking contest. He's going to go get a finance degree. Nope. He went to the University of Michigan and he got a philosophy degree.
That should help.
Actually, the number of great investors that are philosophy graduates is stunning when you get down to it. But so he's, double major math. He was on the other side of the London whale trades years ago, and he's the guy that took the other side of J.P. Morgan's trades. Came into 2020 massively long credit default swaps, had 100% month. And not because he saw COVID coming, but because the math created a distortion in the market, right? So he's now the biggest player in closed-end funds, and he sued Nuveen and Tortoise and a bunch of other funds because some of the things they were doing to fight off the activists actually violated the 1940 Investment Act. Those accusations have been made before and never made it to court. Weinstein has a lot of money. He was able to force this into court. He won. He just won the appeal. All the big fund groups that could fight off activism before, Franklin Templeton, Nuveen, Tortoise, MFS, they were too big to fight, right? Not anymore. He's going after BlackRock and winning. So he's got a position in all the funds we're going to talk about today. So do several other activists. So they're leaning and coming at these funds to do something to get rid of the discount. The same token. Now I'm going to start with tax-free funds because let's do it. A lot of the taxable funds, I wish we'd had this a year ago because we've made good money in those, but the discounts have narrowed down to single digits because of activist activity. So we're looking at this MFS high income securities. This is just it's a vanilla tax-free municipal bond fund. That's all it is, right? Tax-free bonds issued by state, local governments, municipalities. It's sitting out there. It's paying the symbol on this one's CXE. It's sitting out there. CXE, yes.
Gotcha.
Sitting out there paying a 5% yield. It's at a 12.5% discount to net asset value. The activists own enough stock to force a fight here. It's not if, it's when with these guys, okay? When they decide to go ahead and force the fight, they're going to win, and this discount's going to go away.
Okay.
Then you've
got CXE is your first one. Sorry, just recapping. Go ahead.
Yep. CMV, another MFS fund, 10% discount, 5.1% yield.
Did you say CMV is the ticker?
CMV, yes.
Charlie, Michael, Victor don't have that here in Pro, unfortunately.
CMU, I'm sorry. I have terrible handwriting.
Gotcha.
Okay, sorry about that. 5.1% yield. These yields do not buy these in IRAs, guys. These are federally tax-free yields, right? You pay no federal income tax on the dividends that you collect on here. So this 5% is worth actually well over 7, depending on your tax bracket.
Sure.
And these are issued by states and local governments, so the credit quality is really high. And then we've got VFL, which is the Aberdeen Fund, Municipal Income Fund. And this is a 12.9% discount. And again, with a 5.1% yield.
Okay, so that's CXE, CMV or U?
CMU, yes.
CMU and VFL.
Right. And look, you're going to sit here and you're going to collect the 5.1% yield tax-free. Every month you can reinvest it, you can spend it, you can let it pile up in your account, whatever you want to do. It's like getting over 7 from a treasury because the risk is not that far off. Okay. If they narrow the discount, you get that whole pop right there from 88 cents to $1. That happens very quickly. Also, if they do a tender, then we can tender into it and just sell them back our shares at $1. So, and again, from a low risk situation, really nice pop on top of the dividends that we're collecting. Also, it's because they tend to be 15, 20, and 25-year bonds in these funds, you're going to get a nice pop in NAV if and when the Fed does cut rates.
Okay, cool.
Now, who's going to be the biggest winner when the Fed does cut rates? Real estate related projects that owe money.
Okay, I was going to say small caps, but you're right. That's
No, small caps. I'll make a note. If you guys want to get into small caps, we can really plow into that one next week.
okay.
Okay.
Maybe that's something we'll do.
Brookfield Real Asset Fund, symbols RA. Now, Brookfield, if you're not familiar with them, they were called the toll takers of the 21st century, right? They own real estate. They own infrastructure. They own oil and gas. They own renewable energy. But they own toll roads and pipelines and airports and ports and just infrastructure and real estate all over the world. And they, huge firm based out of Canada. They've got a fund because they bought Oak Tree, Howard Marks's firm, a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Marks and his team are being a part of the management of this Brookfield Real Asset Fund. The symbol is RA.
Mm-hmm.
It's debt and some equity, but mostly debt associated with real estate and infrastructure projects all over the world. Okay, 414 different positions in this fund, so there's plenty of diversification. So it's credit, some equity, lots of residential and commercial mortgage-backed securities. So we're sitting here, 12% discount to NAV, 11% dividend yield. You can put this one in your IRA. Dividends just cranked out on a monthly basis. Each and every month, money hitting into your account, 11%. Activists going, hey guys, this discount kind of unsustainable. Let's do something about that. Big win for the NAV of this fund when the Fed does cut rates.
Okay.
And then the Principal Real Estate Income Fund, this is PGZ. This is almost entirely commercial real estate mortgage-backed securities. There's a 10% discount on this one, a 12.3% yield. This is one that you're going to keep in your back pocket. You're not going to go out and buy this today, Ryan. Okay.
Okay.
But on the day when they're talking on CNBC about how bad the commercial-backed mortgage securities market is, and everything's blowing up, and all the office towers are going to be filled in and used as prisons and government office buildings and housing for immigrants, or some of the really creative solutions I've heard for office projects, you want to buy some of this. Okay. It is sitting here. It's trading at a big discount. It is mostly commercial mortgage-backed related real estate securities. On the day it blows up, you want to be a buyer. Now, just so we have this here, let me get the symbol out.
I was going to say, we probably have time here, Tim, for one more.
Okay, one more. The SABA, Boaz Weinstein, the big activist, they just filed a new 13D on a position. It's Tortoise Midstream. The symbol's NTG. This is all your favorite MLPs, guys. It's energy transfer, energy products. It's MPLX. It's pick an MLP. It's in this fund. All right. Now we're going to buy this fund for 85.5 cents on the dollar. So all your favorite MLPs, 85 cents instead of $1, 7% yield, paid monthly. Here's the kicker. What's everybody's problem with MLPs? It's those damn K1s.
Yep.
Okay. When you buy this fund through the magic of closed-end fund accounting, you're buying a 1940 Act investment fund. They're going to collect all these partnership dividends, pay them out to you on a 1099. So we do away with the K1s, but you've still got all you own through the fund, shares in all. You buy this fund and you drive around and you see a pipeline, you probably own it. Right? You see a ship terminal loading oil, you probably own it, if not the ship. So all of the oil gas infrastructure in the United States, moving oil, natural gas from place to place to place, you're going to get it on a 1099, not a K1, collect a dividend. And Tortoise is going to lose their struggle to keep from having to, and what they're going to end up having to do, I think, is combine these funds into an ETF to make the discount go away. So lots of upside. And if I'm totally wrong about what's going to happen in fixed income, energy is going to be a major beneficiary. So it's almost a little bit of a hedge to the other ones.
Okay. I do want to get you out here on this real quick. First of all, Jay Rice from the chat here mentioning AMLP. This is similar pipeline ETF with a monthly dividend. The question here I wanted to get you out on here, Tim. Elon here asking, hi, Tim, do you have a renewed view on NEP? It's $26 now. I think when we first started talking about it was about $33. I'm interested to see if the trend reverses back up here. Cheers. So go ahead.
Yeah, real interesting. You've got an analyst who came out and said, hey, they're going to cut the dividend and it's going to be terrible and it's going to be awful. And I don't want to discount the analyst, but at the exact same time that he's releasing this report, NextEra Energy and NextEra Energy Partners management is running around Europe talking to institutions with a slide deck where they're talking about a $3.73 dividend for this year for NEP, which is a little bit above the current trailing 12-month number, and a sustained 6 to 8% dividend growth rate. So management at this point is telling people they're really comfortable with the dividend payout. Now, let's say management's blowing smoke up everybody's skirt and they're going to cut the dividend. If they cut the dividend in this thing, it's going to be a massive buying opportunity. Remember something, NextEra Energy, the parent here, has enormously deep pockets. This is Florida Power and Light. Okay. Mm-hmm. They are committed to spending billions of dollars on renewable energy projects, and some of that is going to filter through NextEra Partners. Now they've got a convertible financing to coming up that they've got to deal with. There's a plan in place to deal with it. I'll save you all the technical stuff. It's been in place for some time. The analysts are kind of pushing the scare button. If they do cut the dividend, guys, just be ready to buy a lot more. Renewable, look, I'm a unabashed bull on carbon energy, okay, fossil fuel energy. However, I'm almost just as bullish on renewable energy. It's not going away. It is the fastest growing fuel source. So if they cut the dividend in here, this is one of the biggest collections in the country, and it's got the deepest pocketed backer of any other project that operates in the United States. So I'm still a long-term bull on it. And if they cut the dividend and it goes down, I will buy a lot more.
Yeah, and real quickly here, this is actually one of the ones when we first started talking about it, I went ahead and added this too. So Elon, I'd be happy to share what I did with this. Again, it's not recommendation or advice. This is just what I did. This for me is going to be a long-term hold. I'm not necessarily concerned with the price. I mean, obviously, if it goes to zero, I'd be concerned. But I'm not necessarily concerned. I actually added down in the 27 handle, and I would, if it fell off, I would do the same thing. So, okay, Tim, really great stuff here. Again, sorry for the mix-up on Wednesday. Thanks for filling in a load of information here. And we actually had a comment earlier that I wanted to address here real quick. Let me see if I can find it. Mark saying, Tim Melvin, great guest. Would be great to have him on when we're not trading the market open. He has info. I'm just struggling to focus. Mark, I got good news for you. Tim and I are planning some things where that is going to be the case. Yeah. So don't you worry about that. There will be more of that. I also threw the link for the Universe webinar so you can get more of Tim if you want to follow his service. All right, Tim, thanks so much. Have a great weekend, man. Happy 4th to you and your family, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all next week.
Take care. That is Tim Melvin, a wealth of information there. Remember, some of these plays, well, actually all of the plays that Tim is talking about, we're talking about more long-term plays. So quick down moves in the stock like this generally represent buying opportunities. These thesis or the trade, the time horizon for this trade, multiple years. The fact that it's down several points from my first entry is not a big deal. So awesome stuff. Awesome stuff, folks. All right, let's get back and let's trade some of the moving stuff here. Tesla had that huge bounce and rejection, slowly and orderly making its way back down here. Let's take that is not the ticker that I wanted to enter. Let's take a look at a couple more. Nick, while we had Tim on, did you have any news cross the wire that you think is worth mentioning here?
No news, just watching the stocks that we've mentioned, NVIDIA, ARM, Tesla, just going through the highlights right now, Ryan, through some of the research firms, JP Morgan, Wells, Bank of America, Goldman, all waiting to see what they think of this jobs report. JP Morgan out with this note, Ryan, and it seems this is the repeated theme here. The gradual loosening of a very tight labor market is consistent with the Fed's immaculate disinflation narrative and should give the FOMC confidence to lower rates sometime in the second half. We still see a first cut in November, but the path to a September ease got a little wider today. Wells writes on the back of this note this morning saying, quote, the slower inflation data over the past couple months, when paired with the softening labor market, bolster the case for the FOMC to begin reducing the Fed funds rate as early as its September 18th meeting. Our forecast remains for 225 basis rate cuts this year at the September and December FOMC meetings. So it still seems like this labor market, given the cooling that it did show today and the inflation data that's coming in, research firms are predicting that this should start the case for easing interest rates. Mark Zandi of Moody's writes this morning that he thinks that it is time for the Fed to start cutting rates. He thinks that they are behind the curve. He's been calling for a rate cut, Ryan, for quite some time. And today he says, quote, it's time for the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. That's the message in today's jobs report for June. While unemployment is still low, is still steadily notching higher. Job and wage growth, while still strong, are steadily moderating. The Fed has met its full employment mandate. So he thinks that it is hard to justify a restrictive 5.5 federal funds rate that they should be cutting. That's the third person so far today that thinks that a cut should be coming in September. And he and JP Morgan and, of course, Wells think a December cut is possible.
Yeah, I'm still skeptical of the September cut. My call is for no cuts this year. I'm just going to stick with it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We'll see. December seems to be the only one that we might actually get. We'll see, though. This is good stuff, though. That's what makes the market. Real quick, Jay, this is spot on and brilliant. Most of Tim's stuff is value. It's been out of favor for a long time. That will change one day. This is exactly right, Jay, and this is why we're doing this now, right? If it's value stuff, we don't want to be telling you about it when that changes, right? When it's in favor, we want to try and get it while it's out of favor before that up move. That's exactly right. These trades, these picks, these stocks have a longer time horizon than a lot of the other trades that we take here, regardless of the price of the asset. So you're exactly right, Jay. That's, again, that the effort here is to try and bring in experts of varying different types of trading styles so that you can diversify your own skills and portfolio. So shout out there. Here we go. The Masquerader says no cuts this year. That's the call that I'm in. We can be friends. Awesome stuff. Actually, we can be friends even if you don't think that. But regardless, that's the spot that I'm in. 13 saying Fed will be late cutting rates. Fed seems to be late on all of the stuff that it does, so it would be no surprise that it would be late on cutting rates as well. DJAF mentioning Apple 225. Tell you what, Apple today, just a monster day. Really, really good performance here. Apple at the highs. Tesla looks like it's still continuing its move down here. Fairly orderly. AMD continuing to grind higher here. ARM, this actually back at its VWAP after both of its pushes here. How are some of the, I know we talked about NNE. What were some of the other smaller names that we had? Let me get my list back up here real quick. All right, so let's roll through some of them here. ZAPP, boy, that I tell you what, that little curl that gave a little bit of a trade there, that knife was nasty, and that is pretty much culled all of the trading activity here in ZAP. This below its VWAP, not really moving a whole lot here. MDWD, this one beneath its VWAP as well. This is actually very, very similar. This stopped moving around. Spread has tightened up here. That's good. We'll see if that gets involved later on. COS, this was one that we had been watching here. This popped out of the gate. We had that halt. You guys made some really good money on this earlier. Back in beneath the VWAP seems to be the story here. Lion Atlas informing the group that he has added here to CVX, XOM, DVN, NEP, and ENB. So Lion adding to the energy basket, it looks like here today. Appreciate that update, Lion. Carmen, the deck cut idea is interesting post-election, indeed. And I would say that, you know, and I'm trying to be careful about giving this caveat here because my call is officially no cuts this year, and I am going to stick with it. However, if they did cut, the December timeframe makes the most sense to me. All right, we'll keep rolling through some of these. DJAF, let me get that for you here. Asking, what is the short float on ANVS? Let me go ahead and flip over to pro here. Over 10 could be fun. ANVS. Let me get that for you here. Get you that reading. Short interest here. As of the end of June, we're actually going to be due for one of these, I think at the end of next week, looking at the calendar here. 15. Here you go. DJF. 15.27% of its float shorted. 5.96 days to cover. This definitely has some powder there for a potential squeeze. So there you go, DJF. That's you could be right on this one. This up 16% here today. Here's your chart. And remember the high that we put in here on what was this Tuesday? 1250. So still a couple of points away from that as well. IWM acting like no cut. Okay, there we go. Lynn, hey guys, left our co. Lynn, and Randy, I hope everything's okay. I'm not sure what that means. Hopefully that's not a typo because Randy lost a finger blowing stuff up yesterday. Just going to throw that out there. Hopefully that's not the case. Good to see you folks this morning. Okay. Let's see. What else do we got going on here? Let me actually take a look and see what some of the other momentum traders are doing here. Roll through some of these tickers. You guys see anything out there? Decent setups at all? Oh, look at Newegg. Newegg popping here on volume. This is a penny stock, $1.10 now. Was there news on Newegg? Let me see what's going on here. That's ticker NEGG. Man, I have ordered so many computer parts from Newegg over the years. No, nothing new here. So this just looks like a pop on volume here, ticker NEGG. Left our Tesla comments above when Tim started. Lynn, I'm not going to be able to scroll back and find that. I'm sorry. You'll have to summarize what those are here for me. Let's check in on that ANVS real fast. That holding right here by VWAP. MDWD. So it looks like the trade in that was early. This now sub 20. This, if we don't get any volume here, this could be heavy. It might actually fall out here. Careful with this one. Got all fingers. You're on the road. Well, keep your hands at 10 and 2. Glad to hear you have all those fingers. That's awesome.
Next Friday, Ryan, banks kick off earnings season.
JPM, right?
We'll hear from JPM, Wells, BlackRock, Citi, BNY Mellon, Fastenal. And then once we get past that, we have just a barrage of earnings, just a parade of earnings starting Monday, July 15th. We'll have Goldman. Then Tuesday is the first major day where we actually will get earnings starting after hours with Interactive Brokers, Progressive, JB Hunt, and then Wednesday we hear from Tesla. So it's going to be interesting. Okay,
I'll say this: the two words that you combine there, I think plethora and barrage for Parage. I actually like that. That to me, I listened right through that. That's no problem. I might fold that in and incorporate that here.
So earnings season will be in full swing, pre-market, before market, and we'll have to watch a lot of sectors because a lot of stocks tend to move in sympathy with each other.
We'll have you prepared for that, no doubt. Joseph Madden saying, hey, Ryan, what's going on with Zap? Joe, we covered this this morning here. Zap, to me, looks like it's just kind of moving on momentum. Here's your news feed for ZAPP. Didn't see anything here. If there was something that we didn't catch, I'd be curious to know. But to me, this just kind of looks like a continued momentum trade here on Zap. This thing is still up about 50% here today, despite coming back in from that $5 level. Take a look here. Oh, I have a 10-minute chart now. Oh, I think I just favorited the wrong one there. Take a look at the 15-minute chart. You can see the move that Zap has made. This just seems to be continuing. I thought he was speaking French. Nick, are you fluent in French?
No, I am a little bit in Italian. We do have family that is over in Italy. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not either. I took French when I was in college, but I'm not fluent in it. Sorry to say. Voodoo saying Anne-Marie, maybe. Voodoo, yes, we should have Anne-Marie coming up here at 11. So I did confirm here this morning. So unless something has changed, and I haven't been alerted to that, yes. So get your tickers ready for trade ideas for Anne-Marie. Okay, let me close this here. Lauren mentioning Broadcom. That's a ticker we haven't even looked at here today. Ticker AVGO. Broadcom here down from the highs. Let me actually get a bigger daily chart here for Broadcom because we were talking about that double top there. Let me bring that up real fast. See what we ended up doing. Okay, so here you go on Broadcom. This is kind of what we're looking at here for the daily. This little bit of a pullback here, not terrible. The big thing that I want to know, this is kind of like a floating island formation here. Although we didn't hold the bottom here, we did recapture it in fairly short order. So perhaps we can continue looking at this. I'd like to see if we trade up towards this 850-ish area. I got maybe 1840 to 1850 on Broadcom here if we keep going. These stocks have been super strong. RSI is a little at the high end of the range here, though. I'd be careful with this. Try to wait for a support level there. Seeing some Palantir calls. Let me get this out of here. Let's take a look here at Palantir, see if we had any updated movement on that. Oh my God, Palantir. This is just continuing to rip. This should have been the trade here from the open. Palantir. Wowza. Looking pretty good. Looking around, don't see much of anything interesting on Twitter, Twitter, whatever. 2 months away from the football season. That's pretty good. Nick, what was the news that you brought us earlier regarding CNBC broadening their sports coverage? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Ryan, what we learned on Tuesday is CNBC is moving into the realm of sports coverage. And so what they're going to be focusing on is they have now officially launched this sports coverage. And so they have promoted Michael Ozani. I believe he's from Forbes. Let me make sure I'm quoting this correctly. They have hired sports valuation expert Michael Ozanian to serve as senior sports reporter. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to broaden the plan to shift its editorial and business focus to cross platforms and to just broaden the range. And so according to Casey Sullivan in a statement, this idea is to give sports business executive insight and report about sports similar to the data and analysis. And so what that means is they have promoted Alex Sherman to continue to cover sports and media. Contessa Brewer, who focuses on the casinos and online gambling, will now cover sports betting. Scott Wapner will be conducting interviews with league commissioners, team owners, and sports investors. Jessica Golden will actually produce and sports content for Adidas and Under Armour. And then other reporters such as Dom Chu will be reporting on golf, Sarah Eisen on Formula One, Brian Sullivan on motorsports. And we have learned that Andrew Ross Sorkin and Carl Quintanilla will actually host coverage from the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris this summer. Now, these roles, I believe, just won't be specific to CNBC, given that they are part of the NBC family. These reporters and anchors will be crossing the streams, crossing the wires to help with MSNBC, NBC coverage, Peacock specifically coverage. And so Scott will actually have some high interviews on Closing Bell during the week of the Olympics. Andrew and Carl will actually be hosting shows from the Olympics. And some of the anchors like Becky and Joe will be traveling towards the end of the Olympics to host coverage. So it's going to be interesting to see how well sports coverage does on CNBC. It is also important to note they have that sports conference game plan that Andrew's part of in New York and in through Jersey. So broadening the spectrum. They did pick the right people, in my opinion, to host.
I was going to say, when you said Dom Chu for golf, I was like, well, who else are they going to pick?
Yeah, so they are going to, they've put a lot of good people in. So like Andrew and Carl, they've hosted Summer Olympics and the Paris Olympics before. Dom Chu, golf fanatic, love him. Brian Sullivan, perfect
I like
for that.
Brian a lot, yeah.
Sarah Eisen. So they've picked a lot of good people. So it's going to be interesting to see how these Paris Olympics does and how they incorporate that into the earnings and into the business spectrum.
Yeah, that it will be. And, like we've said here, I know there's a lot of overlap with sports fans and market fans. So it'll be interesting to see how that does. Covering more of the business aspect or the business side of that. And a lot of those guys. Yeah, and a lot of those guys, by the way, like for example, Dom Chu, he's been playing golf his entire life. And I mean, from what I understand, he's pretty good and he's connected to a lot of people. So I'd be curious to hear what he has to say on that type of stuff. We'll see how it ends up panning out.
Ryan, me and you can go to Paris for Benzinga. We can cover some content.
You know what, Nick? I'll leave that one to you. I'll leave that one to you. I am A-OK watching the Olympics from my couch here stateside. I don't know.
I'll host live trading from Paris.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? At least it'll be in the nighttime there, or in the evening. All right. What else is moving around here? Market just kind of in the same spot. I know the Dow really kind of sold off, although that seems to have stopped. The ANVS, you guys mentioned this one earlier here. Looks like we popped away from the VWAP. Tested 10. I don't think we quite got over that, though. No, we were rejected just shy of 10. It'll be interesting to see if a 10 print is coming here. Ryan should be the golf guy. Appreciate you, Matt. Can't be for CNBC. Look, I'll say this, though, a little secret here. If we ever divvied up roles here at BZ for sports coverage like that, there would be a long list of people that would want to be on the golf coverage there. So I don't think that they would just hand that to me. But Matt, I'm going to screenshot that and hold that just in case that comes about. Appreciate that. Okay. Let's see what else is going on. I see Polestar getting a mention. Is that doing much of anything? PSNY, which I don't have in Trade the Point. I know I've had that before, I feel like. Let's see here. Polestar up a little bit here today. Looks like it might be trying to go for $1 on Polestar. Miso? Oh, no, Sydney. What's going on with Miso here? Indeed. Oh, wow. Up 14%. So let me see if there was news. Sydney, was there news on this? Let me just check real fast. Sorry, this looks like this is kind of low volume here. Did kind of miss Miso blast here. I don't see any fresh news for this. 12.7% currently right now on Miso. Boy, wonder what's going on there. Sydney, do you got any insight on this one? You know, the interesting thing, let's take a look at this daily chart here. The interesting thing here is that this little gap, we totally filled that, and we're doing a fairly decent job holding this area. Wonder if this can actually make a curl and a move towards 10. This might be one to watch. This might be one to watch here. Miso. You got to get a shirt made for this one too. Ryan, perhaps the day they start selling shares of athletes will be your time to cover golf. So 13, one of the things that we've talked about this on Happy Hour a lot, the people looking to create kind of like a market where you basically flip premium on players based on their performance, right? So, you know, whatever sport it is, player XYZ costs $10. And then player XYZ goes on a week-long heater, let's call it a baseball player. And at the end of that week, he costs $20. There are marketplaces that they're looking to create that allow people to trade this. I'll tell you what, given what we saw with crypto and how that took off and how people are just really looking for trading activity, that is definitely something that we would cover here. Definitely. All right. You guys see anything? Carmen saying such little volume. That was to be expected here. Looks like most of that volume came around the open post the jobs number that we got here today. I would expect this afternoon to be a ghost down for the most part, Carmen. I'm not terribly surprised at this. Tom mentioning ANVS. Oh my God, thank you. So we talked about this one here as it pushed away from the VWAP. Tom, I'm going to assume that you traded this one. Cash register ring for you. This actually broke above that intraday high here. We talked about 1040. It looks like we're yanking here on that pull. Tell you what, if you get this high of day range break, these things have often resulted in pulls. Just do not be afraid to take gains on those pushes higher here. AMVS looking pretty good. Oh, okay, so that MISO was resubmission of biologics license for application for permission from the FDA. Okay, so are we expecting more positive news on the back of that? I think, right? You and me both, Jay. I'd love to caddy for Scotty Scheffler. He's on the top 10 PGA money list. He doesn't even play. How do I get that job, Jay? Oh my God. How do I get that job? That'd be something else.
I mean, maybe I could hint at Ryan that I potentially could be at the U.S. Open next year in Oakmont. So
that would be awesome. Get some interviews, pictures, please. That'd be amazing, Nick.
possibly
How can we help you
have
do
some
that?
connections, so I could possibly be live from the US Open. It's about 15 minutes away from me. That would be some good content, some good highlights.
Yeah, indeed it would. That'd be fun too. Shara here asking, what is happening to costs? Costs, this has been one of the stocks that we've taken a look at all day here today. This is a high short interest. One of the things that we had here on costs, they were trading higher on possible continued retail investor interest. We actually didn't have anything that was fresh here on costs, but as you can see from the daily chart, this thing's had kind of a wild move recently. It looks like just kind of momentum. Today, we actually had an upside halt that several of the traders here hit. We popped higher. That gave you a good chance to exit. But since then, volume has contracted. Stock moved below the VWAP. Didn't really have a whole lot of setup here. So this just looks like kind of a pullback into the doldrums of the end of the week here, I would say. Yeah, Voodoo, you bring up a good point. You were talking about this is in reference to the flipping premiums on sport player performance. You are exactly right in your next comment, or in your comment here. If that's gambling, not investing, too many factors you can't control. I got news for you, Voodoo. Taking a look at how many people are sports gambling, those numbers continue to increase. I know we take a look at some of the stocks here. There's going to be an appetite for it. And I part of the thing that I don't think people are ever really going to move away from investing. I think investing is for a different type of market participant, and it scratches a different itch. So I think what we're talking about here is going to be something ancillary on the side. But if there's a huge following, it's absolutely worth covering. Lion Atlas saying, watch SMMT. That's Summit. We've traded this one a whole bunch here. Summit actually looking pretty weak. We actually broke out of this sideways area. What are you seeing here on Summit, Lion? Looking around here. Don't see much on Twitter. Even some of the day traders that I follow and talk with, looks like they're taking a extended holiday here, turned this into a 4-day weekend, which I understand.
Only us market nerds, I said earlier, will work on a Friday after a holiday.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be a different breed,
which we are. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, you got that right. You got that right. AMDL here continuing to move higher. That's the AMD levered ETF here. AMD still at the highs. Boy, this was a good move out of it. Someone was on this one earlier.
We get inflation data next week, Ryan. Don't forget.
Yeah. I think I'm hoping that next week really kind of kicks things up here from these past couple of weeks. I know it's still the summer, but want to see some more action here. Poet, I know a couple of you guys were trading Poet here. That's continuing to push to the highs. Be sure to take some of the gains on that one if you have it. When did I subscribe to these guys? They striked again? No clue what you're talking about, Jarrett. Happy Friday. ANVS, did we keep going towards those highs? Yes, we're actually trying to take them out here again on ANVS. GLNG, that was another one that we had here this morning. That didn't do much after its pop. Really kind of dried up here too. LOL 13. Macy's continuing higher as that keeps going. Wow. XHG, someone was on this one earlier. Exchange. Looks like this was rejected here at 2. I think things are drying up. I see people already saying, have a good weekend. It's barely 11 o'clock in the morning. Love it.
Early afternoon on the desk, Ryan. That means time to go party hard.
Yeah, Time to enjoy some time off, that's for sure. Where are we at with the trade desk? I know we were waiting for that 100 break. Looks like we got it, but we really haven't moved through it. Still think that this could see a run post 100 if it gets some strength. Oldie but goodie SOUN appearing here on the relative volume scanner. This kind of an orderly trade up, though. We normally see this moving on much higher volume than we do here today. SOUN still at the highs. Fairchild, right. No happy hour ever on Friday. There's just not enough people at their desk at the end of the day on Friday. Most people are generally starting to get their weekend started. And frankly, they're trying for a different kind of happy hour, as 13 will tell you about. Zap, actually, maybe if this moves through the VWAP here. Let's see if Zap can get any type of volume here. The volume's been really kind of low. Skyrockets to fight. That an Anchorman reference there, Tom? Oh, what a quality movie that is. Quality. Fairchild completes it. The circle is now complete. Let's go. ANVS still at that same level. It's trying to go higher here. Doesn't have the strength to do it yet. Beyond Meat on the scanner here. Wild. I'm seeing a CNBC graphic here that the average cookout cost is $71.22, so under that 94 that we talked about earlier this week.
When I told my family that over the week, they said that means someone's getting one piece of lettuce, one pop, one piece of chicken, one piece of a bun, and just one piece of everything.
Just make it work, man. Figure out a way to put those puzzle pieces together and make it work. That's yeah, I think we all pretty much had the same view on that. Nick, you got anything else you can cover here real quick? I need to step away for just 1 sec. Don't want to put you on the spot, though.
Oh, no, we could talk about anything. You know, we're just starting to see the market dry up and talk about inflation. You know, just I'll run down a week ahead calendar, Ryan, if you want.
Yeah, no, perfect. Do that real quick. I'll be right back. 20 seconds.
All right. So next week, guys, we have a lot of testimony coming. We have Powell's testimony. He speaks before the Senate on Tuesday and the House on Wednesday. We have the NATO summit in Washington. That will run from 7/9 to 7/11. We have China's CPI and PPI for June. That's Tuesday night. That's watch that because that does tell a little bit of a macro story, how China's doing. As we know, the China recovery story hasn't been met expectations as people thought it would be. We have US CPI for June. That's on Thursday. We have China's import exports for June. That's Thursday night. And then, of course, we have US PPI on Friday. And then we have earnings coming up. You know, we have some Thursday morning. We have Delta. We have Pepsi. And then Friday, we have JP Morgan, Wells, Citi, BK, Blackstone, Fastenal. It's going to be one to watch as we head into the earnings season. We have then Goldman on Monday, Tesla Wednesday, just some of the highlights. It will be one to watch, though, Ryan, as we head into next week, especially with all the data we get. Watch China. I would emphasize this a lot. Watch China's CPI, PPI, given their inflation and given their recovery story. I know we typically don't talk about China much, but when their inflation data comes out, watch because they've had some disinflation within the past few months.
And when do we expect that again? I might have missed that.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Man, Macy's still at the highs. I'm actually seeing some calls come in here too on Macy's. Those actually might be closing orders. Let's see. Yeah, that one was. Yeah, okay, never mind on that. Seeing some more Tesla calls. Tesla's intraday chart here looking good. I'll tell you what, there's been some pretty good back and forth here on Tesla. Did a good job reclaiming that VWAP, trying to break above this spot. What do we have this here? 240 and a half? 240, 240. I can't read that number. I'm sorry. 249 and a half. Beg your pardon. MDWD, did we get any type of curl there? No, that's just still kind of holding here. Max N, I know some of you penny players are looking at Max N. That did move through the VWAP here. Siri, that was the Zach play, right? That ripped higher here, doing a decent job holding, although we did just lose the VWAP there. What else do we have in here? IONQ, that's at the highs. Okay. Let's see anything new on the option flow here. How about SMCI? I don't even think we've taken a look at SMCI here today. Here.
Watch GSK, Ryan.
GlaxoSmithKline?
Yeah, watch GSK. Starting to see a little bit of a downtrend here. Was higher, starting to see a little bit of downtick here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, big spike down here. And what was was there news or something here? Yeah, right here. FDA to evaluate potential risk of neural tube birth defects with HIV medicine. Dolutegravir. Here's the news, if in case I'm totally mispronouncing that. This is from FDA.gov. Sources linked here in the news post here in Pro. That's going to be GSK. It also affects Pfizer, ticker PFE.
Pfizer moving higher a little bit off this news.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's the move down here in GlaxoSmithKline right now. Wow, that was a big pull here. Let's see if the options are saying anything. I don't see anything yet. BEND halted up. Okay, sorry, there's some phantom alarm going off in my house, but everything is okay. BEND, or is that BYND? Is that what you meant, Jesse? That's still at the highs here. Okay, we're still good there. B70H, do you have option dealers hedging? Sorry, I'm not sure what you're asking. BENF is what Jesse was talking about. Thank you. Wow, big spike here. That's halted. I think that's what you guys were trying to say. And just as another reminder, folks, stick around 3 minutes. We're going to be talking to Anne Marie, so get your tickers ready. We'll see what she has on deck for us here today. Okay. Yeah, seeing that GlaxoSmithKline news make its way around X. I don't really see anything else crazy here. How did Zap end up doing? And we were talking about that. We'll see what happens with BNF. Probably be off when that opens here. Zap right at the VWAP. Possible move here. That tell you what, that curl back to the VWAP, maybe trim right here if you took that one off the bottom. ANVS broke resistance. Thank you, Tom. Again, that is the fourth real big push here to break resistance on ANVS. Strength maintaining here into the afternoon. Interesting. Maybe keep that one on your watch. This is pretty giving us better trades than some of these other ones. AMD still really good. Where did Tesla? Tesla found some resistance at that same area again. Arts on Tap saying buy FFIE. I don't know. Are you? And if you are, why? Right down here at the VWAP. This is a 40 cent. This thing, we've talked about this one just being a trading vehicle. Not sure what you're seeing there. Don't see much. NEGG still holding higher here. Looks like this might be trying to go for some new highs as well. NEGG. All right, Nick, we're going to be going over to Anne Marie here. You got any closing thoughts for the group here on this holiday week?
It was nice to join you. We had a great show. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the holiday because we have a lot next week. So just take it all in. And I'll be sticking around in the background to hear Anna Marie because you guys talk about a lot and she gives a lot of good insights.
Yeah, she's been doing this for a long time. Really, really sharp. Really good stuff, Nick. And Nick, I know today is a Friday. Most people had this marked off as a vacation day. Really can't thank you enough for jumping on here. It's always a help to have somebody else to talk to so that I'm not just rambling and trying to do everything myself. Cannot thank you enough for your availability here today. Have a great weekend, Nick, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Thanks, Ryan. Have a great weekend, guys.
You got it. Take care. That is News by Nick. Really, really impressed with that young fella. Definitely an asset to add to our show here. Have a good week. Nick paves the way for Anne Marie. Let's go ahead and go right over to her. Anne Marie, happy Friday. What happened to the camera? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear?
There we go. Okay. It just needed the voice. See, it just needed to sync the camera to the voice. That was clearly what the issue was. Anne Marie, I got to start off. I asked Tim Melvin the same thing. I asked Nick the same thing. And I asked the chat the same thing. How the heck was your 4th of July?
You know what? Nice and quiet. How about yours?
Quiet. That's interesting. It was
Figuratively speaking.
Yeah, figuratively, it was quiet enough. I tell you what, I did have a great time. I've mentioned, I think recently, I joined the Blackstone griddle craze, so I was able to use my griddle outside,
Nice.
which was always fun. Played golf in the morning, and then the kicker is, as I was preparing for bed, and I was in my bedroom, I looked out the window and I saw fireworks in the sky from my bedroom. So pretty cool way to end 4th of July.
Nice.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite holidays. I absolutely love this country, and
Me
I love
too.
everything that it's
I'm
done
a
for my
huge
family and my
patriot.
extended family.
Yeah,
So 4th of July is a huge
absolutely.
day for me.
100% with you on that one. Love it.
Awesome.
Actually, we get to see outside of my office doors here because I'm up on an 8th floor. We can see the horizon across 3 counties for all the fireworks that they have. So it truly is a dazzling array. It's fantastic.
Okay, well, I'm thrilled to hear that you had a great 4th of July. Can I get a finger check to make sure you still have all 10? We didn't lose any. Yeah, let's go.
That's what I
wanted to
mean.
hear.
Yeah, that's what I mean about quiet. I didn't do any of the fireworks myself, just watched.
And that's how you
So,
stayed safe and came back in one piece.
exactly.
Okay, Anne-Marie, I didn't get any tickers yet here from the chat. I will update you if we get any. I have, if you don't have any prepared for us, I think it might probably be worth taking a look at Tesla or AMD. But I defer to you. What do you have on deck for us here today?
You know what? I have a couple of things that I want to share, but I would rather say, hey, listen, let's go with what you want first, and then I'll pick up the edges, because we've had some really big movers, and we talked a little bit about some butterflies in Meta and Apple, and those are starting to really pay. And so it's going to be a nice place for us to go, all right, here's how something played out when you were working on it. And I just tried to make my screen larger so it wouldn't be hard for us to look at. So yeah, I'll do that. But let's start with you. Let's go with you. Yeah. Okay.
So I think the two big ones here, AMD just straight up here today. I know this one has been popular a lot. It's been linked with NVIDIA. So let's start with AMD. Oh, and we got two. All right. See the chat, you guys.
Love it.
Never let us down. Okay, we got a full slate now, Anne-Marie. We're good.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So, compared to the other The other chip, guys, this one has been, a dumpster fire. You know what I'm saying? Just totally sideways. I mean, if you compare it, let's do a comparison test. If you do have Thinkorswim and you want to use a comparison test, you can go to the Studies tab. And then you can go to Add Study, Compare with, Custom Symbol, and then you can put whatever you want to put it against. So let's do the monster, and let's try NVIDIA first. And we can see how these two have been behaving. Where is NVIDIA? NVIDIA is right here. Notice this is just a line chart for NVIDIA. Yep. Do you see how much more NVIDIA has outperformed versus AMD?
Yes,
AMD's been stuck.
And in fact, it looks like that starts right around the end of April, beginning of May. I mean, it is as clear as day from the comparison chart there.
Absolutely. And so we know that it hasn't been favored as well as NVIDIA has been favored. And so the next question might be, well, let's look at somebody else that hasn't been doing as well. It's come off of its edges, and that's SMCI. Yeah. So now we're going to look at SMCI and see if it's a little bit more the same. My suspicion is that, and I know it takes a minute to pull it up because look at that. See how they've been behaving just about the same.
Yeah.
Right? So what's been happening is that there's been a flood into into NVIDIA, and SMCI and AMD, and I don't know, I'm thinking Taiwan Semiconductor is probably going to look just like these guys. Let's give it a go. And I'll tell you why I'm looking at it like this, right? A lot of times we want to make sure that we can draw some sort of similarity or some sort of construct. Whoa. Okay. Did not see that. Haven't looked at I have not looked at Taiwan Semiconductor in a while, and that is telling us that it is outperforming NVIDIA in the current state. So we might need to have a look at that. In any case, we can see that Taiwan Semiconductor is moving a lot more like NVIDIA, and actually a lot better than NVIDIA because it's still on an upshot. All right, so why do I do something like this? First of all, when you say, hey, let's take a look at this stock, you want to see, is it performing just like everybody else in the sector? Is it underperforming? Is it outperforming? What's it doing? And so we can see that it's underperforming. So this upward draft is sort of like a catch-up event. It doesn't mean it's got legs. It just means it's in a catch-up mode. So if we were to say, hey, what makes this, let's clear this drawing set out because I'm going to draw Fibonacci. What might we be looking at? And so this, way back in the early teens, we were way into these measured butterfly patterns or measured patterns inside of, where's 38.2? I need to put it in there, 0.382. And so this is actually the beginning of a bat. And so if that is the case, if it's a bat, it's going to look like this. We're going to have a line that goes one leg down and then another leg up into the 38.2, almost on the nose. That's a very big deal. A higher low, also very, very important. And that tells us that our upward draft could be pretty substantial. It can fill the gap or go all the way to the 88 level. So my thought is it's in catch-up mode. It's likely to break out of here. And where it's going to run is easily 10 to 20 points. How long will that take? Will it break out, pull back, and then continue? What's it going to do? Or will it break out, pull back, and fall right back into the channel? We've got a couple of things to look at. Let's say we're being bullish and we want to move out. Then I would say give it 45 to 60 days and choose the first major marker of resistance. That's 185, and then choose 195, and then choose 205. So again, we'll go to the butterfly, and 45 days gives us August. Now let's take a look at how they're behaving in August. All right, let's say we're going 185 to 195. Ooh, 210. That's all right. A little bit more risk, $5 more risk, but the debit is 26 cents for a $10 move. Okay.
Seems pretty cheap to me.
Absolutely. So let's take a picture of this one. What I love is that the folks on the Benzinga Pro platform have been coming and watching the options show or picking it up later and then hitting me up in chat going, hey, what's going on with that trade? So
hey, we love to see that.
Totally love it. I totally love it. So that's what I would suspect we're looking at for the AMD trade. If you're saying to yourself, Anne-Marie, I'm very bearish, I don't like what's going on, what can I do here? We could do a broken wing butterfly. And so how might that look? Let's say it stays at 170, right? And moves to 160, but sort of hangs out there, right? If it hangs out there, you can go 160 to maybe, I don't know, 145. Again, opens up a fair bit of risk. If it doesn't, you get $10 to the upside for 59 cents of exposure, but you've got $15 to the downside, which again will require some measure of margin. The broken wing put often makes for a very tight formation here that may or may not work. You could also do a 1/3 by 2, and that gives you a credit of $334, right? $3.36. It would give you a fair bit of risk because if it falls off a cliff, going to be trouble. You could make this, let me show you how to adjust risk. This is very interesting. Let me show you this. So let's say you want to take a 1/3 by 2, but you don't want to add any more risk. How much would that be? If this is a $10 move here and you have twice as many on the downside, you need to make this $5. So you would go to 165 and you would incur no margin, but look at how expensive that's going to be, right? If you just go down, let's see if you went to 50, again, this opens up risk because you've got twice as many to the downside, but it's still a credit. And if the price never falls or falls a little bit, you could make as much as $11 and some change on this position.
Okay.
All right. I know I went a long time in that one. I just wanted to show you some additional techniques that you could use. And when implied volatility of the broad market is as low as it is, yes, we could have exogenous shock, but in general, the move, if if it's dramatic, it's going to snap back immediately.
Mhm.
So it'll be quick or we'll be dead in the framework of things. And if we have 20 days until the next FOMC meeting and he says, yep, we're moving at 25 basis points, the market's going to rally for a little bit on that. And that ought to take us into our upper edges. So my thought is, the risk event to the long side seems to be the better bet.
Okay. All right. Real good stuff there on AMD. We got more than we bargained for there. A couple of things real quick here. This was from earlier when we first started talking. Anne Marie is spot on. AMD, the only chip that has done nothing. Maybe they're looking at mean reversion, Cellavago, SMCI, et cetera, to buy AMD. It looks like that's kind of what we were talking about here. Good stuff there, Jay. Real quick, here's just kind of a quick question, or just kind of a general question. We'll see how quick it is. Anne Marie, is strat play for a stock that is range bound in the money butterfly and directional moves and out of the money butterfly? So sorry.
Okay,
Voodoo.
so I know exactly what
Okay.
they're saying here. So for an in the money butterfly, you want to be very careful. In general, you are right. The second half of that question, directional moves, yes, out of the money butterfly. But you can also get a credit for an out of the money butterfly that, essentially you don't care what happens. It's just, it opens up a lot of risk. Not generally what I like to do. For a range bound trade, and in the money butterfly will sometimes, it depends on how you've got that middle strike, right? If you think the top of the range is going to be that middle strike, then yes, certainly you can build yourself some sort of in the money. But an in the money butterfly needs to be very strategic because it's usually going to put you on the side of you either pay a lot for it if it's just a flat out butterfly with nothing broken about the formation, nothing unbalanced about the formation. It's going to be expensive. And if you pick it directionally, it's going to rip your head off. And if you pick it and it moves in the wrong direction, you're going to lose all lose all of the debit that you paid for it.
Okay.
So in general, you want to be a lot more secure in your estimations about what's next for a stock, putting an in the money butterfly on.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for answering that, Voodoo. I hope that was helpful. Okay. Now, as far as the next stock here, well, we can take a look at Boeing. I would say Boeing and Palantir, if you want to go through that. Now, did you want to cover Meta at all? Because we actually had another comment. I love this comment here. Frank is asking, is the sell button broke on Meta? Because it continues to move to the highs here. So I would say those three, right? Meta, Boeing, and Palantir. Let's pick from those and kind of cover those.
Okay, so we've talked about Boeing a lot. And as a matter of fact, you can see that the iron condor that we talked about in Boeing is still rock solid. And it's in the same space that it was when we talked months ago about Boeing. So my thought is it's still sideways, still a short iron condor would work just fine. The 195 on the upside, so the iron condor we would build would be 165 on the downside, 195 on the upside. Let's go to August. 165. What's the delta there? Yeah, you could probably go 170, to be honest. If we did a delta of 20 and we did the 170, 165, and then what's the delta there? 35. Perfect. The 195, 200. Beautiful Beautiful butterfly. You could collect, short iron condor, collecting almost 50%. A lot of folks go, ooh, that makes me nervous. Here's what you want to do with this butterfly. We've got it with about 42 days to expiration, 10, 12 days for expiration. If it hasn't moved or if it's sideways, just close it, right? So put a time alert on this one that says, with collecting this much, I would say just let this thing run about 20, maybe 25 days and then close it, right? Now, this was also one that we put on that somebody came into the chat and went, hey, I think I had maybe sold the 185s or something. And they texted me and said, or they wrote in the room, hey, it's hit the strike, the short strike. And I said, I looked at the chart and I went, give it a couple days. It'll be right back in the channel. And it certainly was. We're still hitting this range on the bottom, this 170, still hitting this range around about the top. I think it's going to be very sideways. And when are the earnings? 7/31. Hey, that works out perfectly. Close it before then. All right, Let's look at Palantir.
Perfect.
Oh, I got to write some notes here. BA close 7:30. All right. Okay. Palantir. This one, remember, we also talked about this one. I said, hey, listen, I don't really want to touch this thing unless it comes back to 20, 25 maybe. I remember talking about it, and the chart has several days ago, it had a fairly good sized drop, and now it's coming back. Look at where it's coming to. Resistance. Does it have upward pressure? You betcha. If you want to try the breakaway on this, the spreads, let me get the technical term, they suck. So if we, the spreads are just awful. And so the vol is also it's big, right? So, you might want to try a leap with this. And if you've got the 27 where it is now, you might say to yourself, hey, listen, maybe I buy the 35 call spread, right? It's $1.31. And it gives me some upside with limited risk and a whole bunch of time, right? That might be something that you want to do. If you want to turn it into a butterfly, you can. You can always adjust it later. And an even butterfly says it's 50 cents.
Okay.
Right? And so that might work. That might work pretty well. My thought, as I'd said in the past, sell the puts, see if you can get in. What's the delta? Yeah, you could probably do a lot better than the 20, right? You could probably sell the 23s. You could get put to the stock and you'd still have a really nice entry, because I know a lot of people are very keen on getting involved here. And so I'd be selling a put. The October 23 puts are $1.05, and the delta is pretty, there's money to be made there. And here's the wonderful thing. You could do a combination of both. Since you have the long spread here, you could also say to yourself, well, wait a second, let me pay for that. I'm going to sell the October 23s. And then, you paid for it. That means you're getting your call on the cheap. If you never get put to the stock and the call and the chart rockets up and you get to be able to buy it at 30, you're going to really have a cost basis of $29.50 because you picked up $1 first. So that's
All right,
what I would
cool.
say to that one. What did we talk about? What was the third one?
So,
Meta?
well, we had talked about Meta. I know we've got 6 minutes here, so it depends how much time we have. Meta, and then I also got another one here that we've never talked about. I'm not sure if the option chain can do it.
Hit
Kava.
me.
Kava.
Oh my gosh. Is
CAVA,
everybody in that? Holy smokes. Now the chains are crap. But apparently this is like
the options chain she was referring to, folks. The option chains are correct. The Kava chain itself.
No, the Kava chain is not. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever eaten one, but man, oh man. But take a look at this picture right here. It looks like it's about to break out. Look at this. It's got a rising wedge. See this?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk about why a rising wedge predicts a breakout. What does it mean when prices underneath don't go lower, but sort of go higher? It's telling us that people are saying, listen, I do not want to wait for this to come back to support. I'm going to get ahead and get in.
I'm adding on weakness. I don't know if I'm going to get more weakness, so I'm adding right here.
Exactly. That's exactly right. The flip side to that is that momentum is drifting down. So when momentum is drifting down as price action is compressing, it's also telling us that people are looking at it and they're going, I'm not going to diddle in the middle here. When it breaks out, I'm going to put a buy order at the breakout line at 97. And when it comes back and gets me, I'm going to run with it. Bottom line is all of it suggests breakout action. So I looked at the chains here. When did I do that? This weekend? Last weekend? I can't remember. They're wide and they're thin.
Yeah.
And so
the
question might be, if you're holding out for a big break and you think it's going to come, let me open up the seasonality tab here. Hang on a second. Seasonality tab at Kava. Time 26. Okay, 4 minutes. All right, so Kava's kind of new, right? How long has this group been trading?
I think it was since earlier this year, right? That IPO was this year. Let me see here.
I didn't looks like March.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah, looks like about March. So, yeah, no data there. So my thought would be, it looks like it's going to be running. September is normally one of the weakest months of the year. And so if we say, we know that if a chart gets to this 90, 95 edge, it normally tries to test 100. So we could do a 100, 110, 120 butterfly. It's $1.15 into September. It's got a fair amount of implied volatility. It might not be, if you want to participate on the upside, it's easy, but it might actually be more price-wise to participate in the short put spread, which would allow you to collect a credit. Does open up some risk, but the price action is so solid. Look at where 80 is.
Yeah.
Way back here. Right? So, I mean, if I were putting this trade on, I would try this 80-75 short put spread rather than go with the call spread. simply because it might go sideways.
Mhm.
But if you are so inclined to do both, you literally get the call spread for free if it works.
Okay. Really good stuff there. Did you want to really quickly cover Meta? I know we only have a minute, but we actually have nothing behind us. So if we go over 1 or 2 minutes, we can get Meta in here.
Okay, let's do it really fast. So here's Meta. And it's moving like a rocket ship. I don't know what reason I'm going to give for that. Why it's moving like a rocket ship, but it is moving. Take a look at, see, this is the sort of, this is a bigger version of the same formation that we see in Kava, right? It's an ascending event. And even though momentum is drifting, price action accelerates out. And so that is very, very likely as to what's causing this motion. They're just chasing price. And so if we want to stare this down, it's probably a good idea to do a measured move. And we can do that with a Fibonacci, but we can also do it with, our pictures. My thought would be a very nice spot, since it's got enough volatility, is a short put spread, right? And the short put spread could take us, 490 really nicely, 490. What's the, perfect. 490, 485, beautiful looking credit, and probably going to be, easy for us to, easy. Right. We want to we want to close it with about we want to close it either with about 20 days, or if we see it sort of failing and lollygagging under 500, we would want to either convert it or just get out of it.
Okay, really good stuff. We did that really, really quick. We're only a minute over. And as a slight bonus, you used one of my favorite words, arguably of all time, in lollygag. So that was about the best possible way we can finish up that segment. That is fantastic. Anne-Marie, thanks so much for everything, as always. Folks, love the participation from the chat here. Thank you for giving us those short lists. Have a great weekend. I'm glad you had a great holiday, and we'll be back with you on Tuesday of next week. Is that correct?
Absolutely. See you
Beautiful.
then.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. Have a great weekend. Folks, thank you, everybody, for stopping by here today. I know that this is let's call it a makeshift vacation day. I appreciate you choosing to spend your morning with us. Have a great rest of your Trading Friday. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you on Monday.